Okay, podcast episode number, I don't know because I'm recording these in a different order that I'm going to be posting them. But just a really quick one today. I'm going to be doing another episode of deep song lyrics that I've found from music that I like. Today I have 3 songs, one from like metal, I guess, or a metal band anyway. One of them is like a rap song, and then the other one is actually like a hip hop or like a R&B. I guess I don't know genres. I just like songs, but I don't pay attention to genres. But anyways, I like to have them a little different. Not all from rock, not all from rap, not all from country or whatever. Not all from one genre. But anyways, just gonna get right into it. So the first one I have. Um, I'm definitely going to be using Connor Price a lot in these videos because he is a absolutely genius songwriter. I used him in the last one that I recorded of this little series that I'm doing. But this is a song called These Days, and it's by Connor Price, obviously. And the lyrics that I'm taking from it go, these days I don't take advice from anybody who's going to tell me how to do it if they've never even done it right. Or he says it a little differently, but basically that's what he's saying. These days I don't take advice from anybody who going to tell me how to do it if they never even did it right. Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I went through a little bit of that myself before I'm going to end up referencing this a lot on this podcast. But when I made my big move from Illinois to Arizona and really kind of was in a weird situation in life where I wanted to leave the place where I was at, but I didn't want to leave family. And I was kind of looking to podcasts and motivational videos and stuff like that because I was trying to find what I should do. I was trying to look for advice for people or from people, but the people around me, either one, their advice was based off of their experience and their situation. And at the time still to this day, I'm still the first one in my immediate family to ever move out of the town that I grew up in or move out of like away from family. So their experience can't apply to mine because I'm looking for different opinions or pros and cons of moving to Arizona or staying. And most of the time, everybody who I would ask whose opinion I really valued was either obviously move away, get the fuck out of here, there's nothing here, or the exact opposite. It was, no, don't leave, don't want you to go, blah, blah, blah. So I was trying to look for advice from people who weren't in my situation, hadn't been in my situation, and hadn't done the things that maybe they're telling me to do, or maybe they are telling me to not do something that they wouldn't do. So it was tough to really take most people's advice too seriously because I was like, well, you're not speaking from experience, so how do you know? Like, I just didn't want to trust it. I wanted to, of course, at this time, I wanted to find the perfect answer before I make any move at all, which, goes into analysis paralysis, which is not something I recommend getting into. But in the song, he says, these days, I don't take advice from anybody who's going to tell me how to do it if they never even did it right. I think that not only does it speak to what I was just talking about, but it also speaks to when you are getting into something that, let's say it's your own thing. It's like outside the box. It's outside the norm. let's say you're starting a YouTube channel, you're starting your own business, and it is nothing like anybody around you has ever seen. Nobody around you has ever done it. People are going to try to give you advice, but it's not going to come without its judgment at the same time, or without its bias from those people. And that's where it gets a little, it loses a little bit of its value. It loses a little bit of that seriousness factor. And maybe you should not take that person's advice to heart. I would take what they say into account, but just know that usually there is a sense of bias to a degree based on who it is. And then the other lyrics that I quoted from this same song, he says, just a really quick line, he says, "I don't make mistakes, the mistakes make me." And I think that is, one, an amazing line in itself, but also I think it fits really well with the other lyrics that I mentioned. You don't have to take advice from people or wait for people to give you what you think is the perfect advice or the answers before you even start, because when you decide to start, whether it's now or whether it's in 10 years, you're still going to make mistakes when you start. No matter how much you prepare, no matter how much you read or study or think you know the answer to any problem that could pop up, you're not. And that is something that I needed to hear and needed to just get past when I was starting my journey, was stop looking for the perfect answer before taking the first step, because you're definitely not going to have the answers when you come across your first hiccup or your first bump in the road. Even if you are as prepared as you will ever be, you're still going to make those mistakes and you're not going to know how to handle them, but you're going to have to learn how to handle them when they do come up. And I think it is really interesting that he adds that in there along with the advice lyrics that he had earlier. Because no matter how much advice you get from somebody, whether it's the perfect advice or whether it's horrible advice, you're still going to make mistakes. So you might as well just get into it rather than look to people for all the answers. And like I said, that is something that I wish I really grasped way earlier in my process. So yeah, I really like that song. I really like Connor Price's music, and I'm going to be talking about it a lot more in the future. Next up, we have one of my favorite bands, another band that I'll probably be quoting a lot, but I don't have many of their lyrics saved for this specific series. But this one is by Avenged Sevenfold, and the song is called "Seize the Day." Right off the bat, the title of the song should be enough, because that's basically what the lyrics are saying. So the lyrics that I have written down, mainly just the first half of it, but it is the chorus of the song. And it says, "Seize the day or die regretting the time you lost." And then it goes on to say, "It's empty and cold without you here, too many people to ache over." But mainly I was just focused on the "seize the day or die regretting the time you lost." So this can tie back into analysis paralysis. You want to seize the day instead of trying to make the perfect first step. And you want to just get into it as soon as possible and get that learning curve kind of straightened out to where you can finally get to the point where you're not the new guy anymore in the company, or you don't have to look up tutorials for everything you do. You don't have to ask somebody or look to somebody for help when you need it. You will finally, when you start seizing the day, or you start getting over the procrastination, you will start learning things. You will start developing skills. You'll start making memories. And it's pretty trite at this point because it's so overused. The whole seize the day, live every day like it's your last, that kind of thing. It's so overused, but what's interesting is that most things that are overused are extremely true and definitely have their value. But the fact that they are so trite just kind of discredits them to a degree, which is super unfortunate. And I think people tend to overlook things that are overused like that. But yeah, seize the day or die regretting the time you lost. The way I factor this in to life, in my experience, is taking time off of work specifically, or doing things. I'll get into that later, but let's talk about taking time off work specifically. You are not going to be on your deathbed and saying, I really wish I would have worked those last few days. That day I took a day off, or that week I took a vacation with the family and the kids. I wish I would have worked that week. I've never heard anybody say anything like that, nor do I think I ever will. Because it's the things that you don't do that you regret. Not as much the things you do that you regret. It's things left unsaid, things left undone, the things you have always wanted to do or always wanted to try that you never did because you couldn't say no to your boss. You couldn't turn down working the weekend, or you couldn't say no to that overtime. I was 18 years old and already just so fed up with working overtime. And everybody I would work with would just be so surprised and like, why would you not want to work overtime? It's good money. It's like, yeah, what good is all this money, all this good money, this overtime money, if all I'm doing is working anyway? I don't have time to spend the money or go make the memories with the money. And I could never seem to drive that into the heads of the people I was working with. I think my dad was the only one I really related to on that. Like, I don't know if it's just a family thing, but I mean, he's worked, I mean, it's an uncountable number, the amount of overtime he's worked more than I have. But at 18 years old, I already had the mentality of on overtime that he had at 52 years old. So we absolutely despise overtime, because if I can't survive off 40 hours a week, I need to find something else. I think I did a reaction video on this. I talked about this. I did the math of 40 hours a week for, let's say, from the time you're 19, which is what I was, till the time you're 65. Or no, 60. I think it was 60, because that's when you're able to retire in the sheet metal trade where I was at. Some people it's 50. Some people it's just I don't know, 50 years or something. No, maybe not. 40 years? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I did the math of how much of your life that actually is. And I think it ended up being around 10 years of your life when you add up the hours, and not even like just 40 hours a week, not even counting overtime. It ended up being like 10 years from the time you're 19 to the time you're 60. Now, put that into perspective. If you are doing a job that you hate doing or you don't want to do, or let's say you're working a ton of overtime all the time, add another 5 years onto that. If you have a ton of overtime, then, like I said, add in the factor if you hate what you're doing. That's 10 to 15 years doing something you could not stand doing or didn't want to do, or let's say you wanted to be doing something else, or let's say it was taking time away from you and your family that you're never going to get back. That's the type of stuff you're going to end up regretting if you don't seize the day or, take some time off. At the very least, I understand people, you just can't just quit your job. That's not how it works. As much as we would love that to be the case, that's not how it works. But it's so true to seize the day. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, and this is the stuff that it gets super repetitive and super overused. You hear it all the time, but we still ignore it and still don't do it. And time just seems like it goes faster and faster as we go on, as we grow older. Like in high school is where the time really seems like it starts to accelerate. You get in freshman year of high school, and it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm a freshman. Can't wait till my junior, senior year when I can drive and I can go where I want and do what I want. I have money. You get to your senior year and it's like, wow, high school's already pretty much over. And I didn't even see it coming. It's gone. And then as soon as you get out of high school, it's just like you have a rocket strapped to your back that controls time. I just turned 24 last week. And it's so weird to me. This is the first birthday that I've ever had where I genuinely felt older. And everybody's always, you feel any older? This year, I do. And I know that I'm going to look back at this when I'm like 30, 35. And I'm going to be like, what was I thinking? I'm young, whatever. I have the ability to acknowledge that I am still young, and I'm going to look back on these years forever. I'm going to look back when I'm 40 and wish that I was right back in the same health, the same age, the same motivation, the same determination that I have at this age. But I also acknowledge how fast time is moving by and how quick that the years will just pass me by if I don't seize the day. And if we all don't seize the day. So yeah, it gets overused, but seize the day or die regretting the time you lost. Very simple. Very true. Now, I kind of flew through those. I'm probably going to hopefully talk about this one a little longer. I like to make these about 45 minutes to an hour long. But anyways, let me know if you know any of these songs or any of these artists. I would like to hear you guys share some deep lyrics in the comments as well. I think that would be really cool to read through what you guys listen to and how you kind of tie certain lyrics to your own experiences or to your own life. I love doing it, and I am obsessed with music, so I would love to hear it. But anyways, So this one, I pretty much guarantee that everybody has heard this song. Everybody's heard of this band. It's a 21 Pilots song. Very popular. Very impressive band. Very good writing. So, the song might come as a surprise to you, but then when you hear the lyrics, you might be like, oh, wow. Like, I never even picked up on that. I was too busy just singing it because it was catchy and popular. The song by 21 Pilots that I'm talking about is Stressed Out. One of their most famous songs, I don't remember probably like 2011, 2012, I'm not sure. But anyways, super catchy song, and unless you pay attention to the lyrics, you don't realize how scary it actually is, and how this also goes back into Seize the Day as well. I think I did this unintentionally, but I tied these together pretty well. But I have almost the entire song copied. I think I have every verse, but not the chorus copied, and I want to talk about it in this. So the first verse, or the first lyrics that I'm going to talk about, they go, I was told when I get older, all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. And the other day, I wanted to find some more lyrics to talk about for a podcast like this. And I was just on shuffle on one of my playlists, and this came up, and I almost skipped it because I'm like, nah, probably not. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I gave it a chance, and I'm so glad I did. I started listening to it and remembering the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be such a good one to talk about. I was told when I get older, all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. How relatable is that? When you're young, everybody tells you, all your adults tell you get older, you'll grow up, or maybe your teachers tell you your fears will shrink. And it's true, like scared of the dark, scared of heights, scared of your little fears when you're little. You kind of grow out of them. That's just a known thing. But you also develop new fears as you get older too. Now I'm insecure and I care what people think. Now it's a fear of judgment. Now it's a fear of what people are going to think of me, how I appear to the world. What if I look like a total just loser in society? You got always comparing yourself to other people always comparing you to other people. It's brutal as you get older if you don't know how to mitigate the insecurities, and you do go down that road where you let other people's judgment affect you. And I'm sure everybody's guilty of it to a certain degree. But it's so interesting. I was told when I get older, all my fears would shrink. I mean, to an extent, it's true. It's just different fears. Maybe you don't have the same fears you always had when you were a kid, but so yeah, that's interesting. The next lyrics are, sometimes a certain smell will take me back to when I was young. How come I'm never able to identify where it's coming from? I'd make a candle out of it if I ever found it. Try to sell it, never sell out of it. I'd probably only sell one. And that it goes on after that, and I'll get to that eventually, but let's take a second, because when I read these lyrics, I almost lost my mind. because I've recently started journaling or started like typing my thoughts out throughout the day and trying to remember my perspectives and ideas and thoughts that I come across, especially if they seem original. But at work, the fall weather, I'm going to talk about fall and nostalgia as well on this podcast a lot. The fall weather triggers an unbelievable amount of nostalgia for me because of the temperature, the way the air feels, the comfy sweatshirts. I get warm from wearing sweatshirts, which reminds me of having fires in the fall at night and camping and hanging around the fire with friends and playing bags and riding four-wheelers after school and going fishing in the fall. I could take one little smell, one little memory, one little feeling and turn it into a whole line of emotions and memories and just stuff like that. But right here, he says, sometimes a certain smell will take me back to when I was young. And I just recently at work started really focusing on this. I just noticed it one day and it was like in the fall. So I was having this sort of nostalgia all the time, like triggered by everything. And I want to say that I discovered this myself. I would smell something and I'd be like, what does that smell remind me of? I would do it on purpose because I can do it. We can all do it right now. Like right there, whatever you're smelling, it reminds you of something. Maybe even if it's just something like small or insignificant or just kind of like, yeah, whatever. What every smell makes you think of something, whether it is a long lost memory that you forgot even existed, or it's something that you literally were like, oh yeah, I smelled that like 2 weeks ago. And this just blew my mind. And I really was interested. I wrote about it. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like this is like this needs to be a study. This needs to be an actual thing. It's gotta be an actual thing. So I looked it up and it 1000% is. And I got on to reading something called the Proust effect or Proust effect. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's basically this guy, this old French guy from, I want to say the 1700s or 1800s. He made this same discovery and tied it to and was kind of studying and questioning why when you smell certain things, it can trigger childhood memories that you forgot you even had. Or not only can it bring back memories, it literally makes you feel like you are right back where you were in that specific memory. You remember the feelings you had. You can imagine in your mind where you were. You can recall minute details about the scenery that was around you when you smelled that smell. And then I read a little more. I read this article. It went into a little more detail that I would have to pull it up. Actually, I think I can pull it up right now. But it talked about how your nose or your sense of smell is the closest of your senses that is tied to the memory center of your brain. What was that called? Oh, I don't remember. I'm not gonna try to guess it because I'll probably just get it wrong. But yeah, there's the center in your brain. Those of you who know anatomy and my girlfriend's classmates, if you're watching this, and my girlfriend, obviously, they would know immediately the part of your brain that stores your memories. But I guess your sense of smell is the closest sense that is tied to that, because there's more of a direct connection to it than your sight or your hearing or your taste. Something about your sense of smell can just be this visceral reaction, and this just, it's like you get teleported right back to when you were a kid, when you smelled that smell for the first time, or when you kind of stamped that smell as like, I want to save this, or this is a really nice memory, and your brain kind of saves it. It's insane to me the way that we can just kind of travel back in time in our own minds and literally relive moments just off of smelling something. Sometimes we're like, I know that smell. I have no idea why I know that smell, but that it gives me chills when I get it. And it's like, what is that? And I get so fired up, and I absolutely love it, to the point where I started wearing nasal strips to bed, not only to sleep better and like breathe through my nose better, because I'm pretty sure I have like mild sleep apnea, but I've been wearing nasal strips to bed every night for like the past, I don't know, almost a month now. And it's gotten to the point where I'll just like leave it on all day at work so I can just breathe, and I'm getting air like straight to my brain. It feels amazing. I recommend it. But I will, while this nasal strip is on, I will take like I don't know, I'll fill like 75% of my lungs with air through my nose. And I'm like, what does this, I will intentionally, what does this smell remind me of? And it brings back great memories 3/4 of the time. Other times it's kind of like, yeah, I didn't really get much there. Smells interesting though. And then it makes me really pay attention to how fresh the air is, and how it just makes me very grateful for the position I am in life, because I just really get in the moment, and I'm like, take a deep breath through your nose and just realize how small we actually are, and how big this picture we are in actually is. All the moving parts in the world right now, all the things that are happening that I'm not seeing, because I am literally in somebody's backyard cleaning a pool by myself, and all I can hear is just like some waterfall in a public lake over here, or cars driving by, just like super peaceful. And I just close my eyes and take a deep breath, and I get this super nostalgic emotion triggered by just smelling the air. It's like how beautiful of a privilege that is, to be able to just flip that on like a switch at any time. I think I love it. I do it every day now. So he says, sometimes a certain smell will take me back to when I was young. How come I'm never able to identify where it's coming from? So it's literally, it goes into this Proust effect. I absolutely love it. I recommend you read up on the Proust effect. It's really interesting. He says, I'd make a candle out of it if I ever found it, which is a super interesting idea. And I love the idea of that, because I'd make a candle out of it. It's like, it's not the same smell every time. How you couldn't. So it's interesting. I'd make a candle out of it if I ever found it. Try to sell it. Never sell. Out of it, I'd probably only sell one. So this is interesting, and it goes into the topic of this song so well, and it perfectly molds and blends the two topics of this particular song and kind of meshes it into one perfectly. So I'll read, let's see. So at the end of the song, it says, used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we'd fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at our face saying, wake up, you need to make money. Which just hits me like a freight train. Because it's like, we're not kids anymore. And it seems like when we're kids, all we want to do is grow up so we can do adult stuff. And then when we get to be adults, it's like, fuck this. Take me back. What do I have to do to be a kid again with no responsibilities, no care in the world, just existing, just satisfied with this imaginary thing that I'm doing in my head? I'm playing pretend. I'm building a rocket ship and flying far away. I'm turning a cardboard box into this absolute amusement park. Like, it's so simple and it was so easy. And we would just get lost in time. We had no grasp on reality and on time when we were that young. And it was just magical. It says, used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we'd fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space. Now they're laughing at our face, saying, wake up, you need to make money. It's like you're almost shamed for acting childish or for doing things you used to do as a kid. You see an adult like trick-or-treating on Halloween. You think, oh, this guy's an idiot. He grow up, dude. It's like, but remember how fun it was when you were a kid, trick-or-treating, running around with your friends, getting free candy? Who doesn't want to get free candy? Like, dress up to be whatever you want. I mean, people are kind of doing that nowadays every day anyway, but the magic that we had when we were kids that we didn't even know we had. And people now just wake up, you need to make money. Everything's be productive, hurry up, get stuff done, build this, earn this, quicker, faster, more, all the time, never stop. We need to slow down. We need to live a little. So the way he says, I'd make a candle out of the smell if I ever found it, try to sell it. So it's like the first thing you think of if you found it is to sell it, because when you grow up, it's like, oh, I got to make money off of this. How can I use this? How can I get my 15 minutes of fame from this? It's that sensationalism that we are exposed to when we grow up and we get into adulthood and we get into the real world. Try to sell it, never sell. Out of it, I'd probably only sell one. So like I'd try to sell it, never sell. Out of it, I'd probably only sell one. And then he goes on to say, it would be to my brother because we have the same nose, same clothes, homegrown, a stone's throw from a creek we used to roam. First of all, the rhyme scheme of that is mind-blowing and absolutely paints a gorgeous picture. Try to sell it, never sell. Out of it, I probably only sell one. It'd be to my brother, because we have the same nose, same clothes, homegrown, a stone's throw from a creek we used to roam. Oh my God. It's so well written. If I'm not careful, I could just talk about the song rather than the meaning of the song. But if I found a candle, I'd try to sell it, probably only sell one, and it would be to my brother because we have the same nose. It's like the candle would mean the same thing to my brother and me because we grew up, and that's just gorgeous. And this awesome idea, it's like you could only share that with a sibling because they're the only ones that grew up with you in the same place, with the same parents, with some of the same memories or some of the same views on things. I just, something about that just really makes me think back to when I was a kid and makes me think of some of those smells and some of those memories and some of the core childhood memories that I have. And every time I think about them, I just smile and I love it. I think a lot of people, I recommend you do that a little more. Think like just whenever you might have it triggered in your mind, just take a second. It takes literally 15 seconds at the most. Think back for a split second to a childhood memory and just try to re-feel that. Remember what you were feeling, what you were smelling, what you were thinking at the time, if you can. And just think of how much of a gift it is to be able to recall things like that. The fact that we're able to store memories and relive them and re-experience them in our minds to such an insane level of detail. It's like, I remember going to Missouri and camping with one of my friends at the time, and we would just get lost in the woods, in the creek, and we made our own fire pit out of the rocks from the creek, and we made our own fort out of sticks. We made our own hats out of like leaves and twigs and stuff, and we would hide around and act like we were ninjas and hiding in the jungle. And I remember the feeling of the rocks when we were picking them up and just feeling so sneaky when we were making our own fort, and how accomplished we felt when we built it. And we built our own fire pit and then cooked s'mores over that fire pit that we built. It's just, I want to do more of it, even though I'm an adult. And that also makes me just really be excited for when I have kids and a family of my own. I cannot wait I think about this so often. And while I am nowhere close to ready to have kids, because I have goals of my own that I want to get to before I get to that point, I am also so excited. And this is the first time I've even said this out loud, even to myself. I'm so excited to be able to do that with kids of my own and try to get them to have those and see them learn the way I did, see them build their own fire pits and camp and stuff like that, like I did, and then build the same memories like that. I love having and sharing experiences like that with people, because it makes it so much better. Then you have somebody else to talk to and share, and it adds to the beauty in it. I absolutely love it, and I recommend you guys do the same thing. Really quick, I think that was a good place to end, but really quick, I do have some more lyrics from this song. So, same clothes, homegrown, a stone's throw from a creek we used to roam, but it would remind us of when nothing really mattered. Out of student loans and treehouse homes, we all would take the ladder. Again, absolutely perfect writing. It would remind us, still talking about the candle, it would remind us of when nothing really mattered. When you were a kid, like I've been saying this whole time, out of student loans and treehouse homes, student loans on one hand, growing up, and the things we look forward to when we were kids, going to college, getting out of our parents' house, growing up, being able to have responsibilities and do our own thing. And then treehouse homes, on the other hand. Just the simple things we had when we were kids. Out of student loans and treehouse homes, we all would take the ladder. The ladder as in the ladder of the two options being treehouse homes, but ladder as in the ladder to get up to the treehouse. I love the double entendre. It's genius. I love it. I love when music and writers and bands and artists do stuff like that. I respect the hell out of it. I absolutely love it, and I want to do it myself. So then it goes into the very last part of the song, like I mentioned earlier. Used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space. Now they're laughing at our face saying, wake up, you need to make money. It's so unfortunate that we grow up so fast and we grip onto time so early, it seems. And it seems like it's getting earlier and earlier, where kids are just getting a sense of time. And as soon as you get it, as soon as you understand how fast time actually does go by, you can never get it back. You can never get that same feeling, and like, you can't get lost in time anymore. I mean, sometimes you can, depending on what you're doing and depending on how much you actually enjoy it. But I feel like the longer we go, and especially nowadays, people don't do what they enjoy as much because they're too busy making money. Wake up, got to make money. And they don't know how to seize the day, and they don't know how to just get into making mistakes and just live in the moment. Be okay with taking off work, going on vacation, lay in a hammock a little bit. Stop being so go, 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 go all the time. Productivity, money, money, money. I just think we need to slow down. We need to live more. We need to remind ourselves often of what it was like when we were kids, and be sure that we don't squander our privilege to do things like that and make memories with our own kids. Oh my God. Get your kids off the damn phone. It's that damn phone. Get your kids off the screens and go outside and do something and make some memories. Out of all my core memories, 3/4 of them were done outside. I got nothing else. I strongly recommend you look into the Proust effect and really acknowledge the smells throughout your day. Whether you just walk outside, you take a deep breath through your nose and pay attention to what that smell reminds you of. I definitely recommend it. It can bring you so much joy for literally no reason, in absolutely no time, which I think is one of the best things about it. You can do it at any time. You can do it anywhere. And even if it reminds you, here's what's gorgeous about it too. Even if it reminds you of a job you hated that you no longer have, that should also bring you joy, because then you're like, wow, that smell reminds me of this thing at that job that I was having, and I absolutely hated that scene that I was in, and I hate that smell, but wow, does that make me so happy and grateful that I'm where I am now and out of that. And the fact that I can look back and the things that I've done and the things that I've learned, the person I've become since that time. So even if the smell reminds you of something bad or negative, you can then reflect on where you are now and the fact that you're past it and just laugh. I love it. That's all I got for you. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of all these lyrics. Let me know of some deep lyrics that you have of your own. And yeah, see you next time.